I'd like to talk about deliberate practice for expertise. Okay, again, I talked about duplicability and making deliberate actions. Well, deliberate practice is a structured and highly focused form of practice that is designed to maximize learning and improvement. Okay, it involves setting specific goals, breaking the skill down into smaller components, and focusing on specific aspects of the skill in order to improve performance. Triggering, let's say that you're working on that. I was having a chat with one of our athletes, and it was talking about, instead of giving the command to go with the trigger, it was causing very conscious triggering to occur. Start the motor process. Start as opposed to go. So when you get that sight picture, you start building up on it. You initiate the trigger squeeze and off it goes. But it's a very specific 0.3 second activity that I want the athlete to do, and it makes a difference. Okay, so deliberate practice is a research-backed process. It's applicable to fine motor sports. And essentially what you're doing is you're identifying weaknesses in performance versus key performance indicators. You create plans to observe and eradicate that weakness based on immediate feedback during performance. The key thing here is immediate feedback. Now, every practice that you go to should have all of these items. I hope everyone's taking notes. You have to have the motivation and desire to be there. Your activities have to be based on pre-existing knowledge. You're always going to be moving from the known to the unknown. So here's what I know today. Here's where I want to go. How am I going to get there? You're going to have explicit goals that are highly relevant to your performance. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be a high level of effort on your part. In fact, they say that deliberate practice is not inherently enjoyable. It is work. One of the things that they say with work in this context is it's not intrinsically rewarding. When you go to a competition and you do well, somebody hands you a medal and you go, hooray, that's a nice time. With this, you finish your practice, you make it, you write in your journal, you write down what you need to do. Tomorrow you're going to repeat it. And the athlete that can absorb that, I won't say it's abuse, but that form of training will succeed, will improve. It's going to be highly structured. There's going to be a lot of monitoring of what goes on. You're going to work closely with an authority. If you've got a coach that's working with you side by side, that's optimal. But you're going to develop that inner coach, okay, so that you can be your on-site coach. The SCAT helps you out. Video analysis can help you out. Timing, all of these things. But you're going to be working with some form of authority to provide immediate informational feedback, okay? Every delivery, you need to know whether that was good, whether it was suboptimal, and how do you improve. It's going to take time and energy. As you go deeper into the sport, you need more time on the range, both in frequency and duration. If you're training one time a week, you're detraining. So if you had some skill, but you only are going out one time a week or less, you're losing your capability. 3 to 5 times is a growth pattern. When you go into 5, 6 plus, you're probably overtraining and may cause some problems. And you have to have multiple methods for training and refining those methods in response to feedback. Like if I'm doing something and all my shots are going left and I've tried changing my sights and it doesn't do anything, so I just keep on cranking on my sights, that's one response to a problem. I need to maybe step back and go, okay, first of all, is my pistol broken? Second, Am I maybe pushing the trigger? What can I do to work on getting straight back on my trigger? All these different things. You have to be responsive to feedback and be able to pull up different ways to address those concerns. So what isn't deliberate practice? Shooting a half or a full match simulation. I'm going out to the range and practicing tonight. What are you going to do? I'm going to shoot a half match standard and a half match sport. The reason it has a asterisk at the end is shooting a half or full match simulation has value if you do not know the format of a match. If you don't know about matches and how to perform within that, a simulation makes good sense. That's where it has value. Anywhere else, you're not really getting much out of it. Not having a session goal beforehand, just going out to the range and shooting and then coming up with something is not really deliberate. Not having focus and structure, that builds into the goal, but then that focus and structure is what brings your goal to life. Not having feedback mechanisms, sort of like what we have here. We've got 4 athletes all working on scats. That's getting them feedback. We're not using them as electronic targets, which is a waste of a scat. They're using that to get performance metrics. Not having a coach or a self-coach, not incorporating critical analysis. You have to look at that shot and figure out what's going on. Again, having only one practice method and focusing only on your good shots. You can only polish a diamond so much. And at that point, you're not getting more value out of it. So how do you deliberately practice? You have to analyze those performances, note your relative strengths and weaknesses, identify key areas for improvement. Look for variances and inconsistency in your deliveries. That's once again through time, motion patterns, KPIs. You also need to consider what you perceive from the performance itself and what data you're getting back from whatever external force. What you need to be able to do, and again, research has shown that as you become more of an expert, you pick up on these things, you start to notice, oh yeah, just as I was releasing my shot, I felt myself move forward. That has provided, you've taken that intrinsic feedback of motion, applied that to external feedback of you see your point of aim move off the target, and that explains why you got that shot off of the center. What you want to be able to do is develop that sense, that kinesthetic sense for intrinsic feedback. So when you're on the line, middle of a competition, you don't have a scat, you don't have your coach yelling at you, you can diagnose your problems without feeling lost. It's empowering and it's incredibly efficient in rectifying your performance. And again, hammer at the weaknesses. Identify your next one and then repeat, repeat, repeat. Now, we talked about key performance factors. Paper I was just reading that was actually from 2022 was based on a guy that was shooting 580 in air pistol, so pretty good. 5 components of his performance represented roughly 80% of his shooting variance. Okay, so when he did these things well, he was rewarded. And these are in no specific order. It was aiming time for the scat, that's sort of like time on target, stability of hold, aiming accuracy, cleanliness of triggering, and then shooting delta, and I'll talk about that in a bit. Okay, so aiming accuracy and cleanliness of triggering explained 25% of the shooting variance on their own, with cleanliness of triggering being the most important factor of the 5. So this sort of backs up what I've always told people. You work on your triggering, getting a smooth, progressive trigger, it will convert into points. Okay? Your metrics your hold, all of these things, they're important, but cleanliness of trigger, that smooth trigger right out of the gate is the most important one.